Welcome to the video version of Visibility at Your Library. Here's one more example of how libraries are changing in dynamic places.
I really credit the public library system for making me a reader for myself. I never reacted well to assigned reading, that type of thing in school. But one summer I spent a lot of time in a library because I was dropped there every day, and librarians kind of took me under their wing and brought me to the stacks and to the books. They gave me To Kill a Mockingbird, for example. And that summer experience, from that point on, I was a reader myself. I was going out to look for stuff to read. And any writer will tell you that it starts there. You got to be a reader, obviously, before you can be a writer.
Were there any particular librarians that you remember that you interacted with on an individual basis?
I don't remember them by name. That's I guess the disappointment. When I was 12 years old, this one librarian took me and gave me To Kill a Mockingbird, and I didn't, it wasn't this change your life type experience. But over the summer, I would put it back on the shelf. I'd come back just about every day and read a little bit of it. And years later, I wanted to dedicate a book to her, but there's no way of knowing who it was. And so I have a book called The Overlook, and it just says dedicated to the librarian who gave me To Kill a Mockingbird.
As you were, starting to develop your craft and obviously doing research, did libraries play an important role in your development that way, in your career development?
When I had an overlap in my life as a writer. I was a newspaper reporter for a number of years, and I wrote my first 3.5 books while still being a newspaper reporter. And then I reached this point where I could quit my job as a newspaper reporter and be a full-time writer. And I went through this weird thing where I went from a busy newsroom with a lot of people and a lot of background noise and so forth, to suddenly being alone in a room. My wife still had a job and I was alone, and I found it very hard to write in what most people would think would be the perfect writer environment. And so what I started doing was going down to the downtown library in Los Angeles and finding a corral and doing a lot of work there on my laptop and doing some research. So I kind of found that the library was a bit of a transition type place for me in my life as a writer.
Do you use your library a lot now?
I have moved from Los Angeles to Tampa, Florida, and I'm just now exploring a library that's pretty close. I live near downtown Tampa, and they have a pretty good library there, and I've been going in there kind of, undercover, just kind of checking it out. But more often than not, I still write about Los Angeles, so I write about a place that's 3,000 miles away, so I make several trips out to LA and use the libraries there for research, and also sometimes I meet people there. People that I guess you'd call them sources, people that I'm going to use to help research books and so forth. And the downtown library there seems still to be a central part of my existence as a writer, even though it's technically 3,000 miles away from me.
When you go in and you see your name on the books there, what does that feel like?
Well, it's pretty significant. Obviously you go into a store, you see your books, you have your books on your own shelves, but I always kind of go back to when I was a kid, and the library where I went in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, they had a rule that you couldn't just be sitting in there enjoying the air conditioning. You had to have a book. The librarian said, "I want to see you reading if you're in here," and if they found you without a book, they would take you and get you a book. And so the idea of going into the stacks and seeing books on shelves is significant to me, and it's very egotistical, but I have to say I have gone into libraries to find my books and to see them lined up there. I got a pretty good number of books now, and it's always a great thrill.